Hello guys, I'm Joe with Smokin Joe's Pit Barbecue. Today I just want to do a quick video on how to trim a competition chicken thigh. Chicken is one of those things that probably the hardest thing to cook really. Briskets are pretty easy, ribs, shoulders, that's fairly simple to cook. A lot of people shy away from chicken or don't know exactly how to trim their chicken, so I'm going to go through that process. Obviously, starting with good ingredients is definitely going to pay off at the end. I am using chicken called Smart Chicken. I have a few friends that have told me about this before, and a buddy of mine actually said that we had them in our area. Fortunately, I had to travel about an hour today to go get these from Las Cruces, New Mexico, at a market up there. It's an organic market. But these chicken thighs are certified organic, raised without antibiotics, range-free, and no added water. And I got to tell you, if you get good product, again, you're going to get rewarded by it. As you can see, 4 thighs, pay about $9 for this package, but it'll be worth it in the long run. The trick of this thing is, guys, to keep these chicken thighs extremely cold, as cold as possible. In a competition, guys, I got to tell you that you will spend money, but if you spend money, I think that you'll win money, and you'll just get a better product at the end. These chickens, I've trimmed these before, and compared to your other standard chicken thighs that you would find at the grocery store, Walmart, Sam's, etc., it's a much or the chicken thigh itself just looks better, a lot less fat, and the fat comes off extremely easy off the back of the skin. And I'm going to show you guys that process, but I'm going to take these out of the package, and I'm going to lay a couple in this pan and put the rest in the fridge. The important thing is to keep these thighs extremely cold. The colder you keep these, the easier it is going to be to trim the fat off of them. I got to tell you that. There's nothing worse than trying to trim a warm chicken, if you will. Besides, it's not healthy, and you could get sick, obviously, because of salmonella. I'm going to take these out of the package. Again, just leave out a couple so I can trim and put the rest of them back in the fridge, and we'll catch up at that point. Alright guys, so we're back. We've got our first chicken thigh here, and the first step that you want to take is separate the chicken skin from the thigh itself, and just be gentle with it. You don't want to tear the chicken skin, and sometimes they come off really easy, sometimes you gotta really work with it for it to come off. So the thing you don't want to do is to tear the skin. Okay, so just kind of work your way through that and separate the skin just like that. All right, so the next step, guys, is I lay the skin on my cutting board backwards. Okay, and again, because we're working with poultry, we got to make sure that we're as clean as possible. Obviously, when I'm done, I'll disinfect this counter and everything else. So at this point, guys, the skin that I want is going to be right here, this little square right here. So I'm going to trim this off. And again, it's always best to start with a good sharp knife. So I will not use this that I cut off here. The next step, again, as I mentioned earlier, start with a good sharp knife, okay? And put your knife, the blade, towards you, and you're going to scrape away from you. Just scrape like this. Okay? And as you scrape, you'll see that the fat will lift from the skin itself. Again, it's important that you start with really cold chicken. Makes it easier. I'm just gonna do one chicken thigh, guys, because of the time. I mean, I could sit here and trim these chickens for 2 hours. You know, when you have a barbecue at your house, you probably won't do this. But I gotta tell you, for competition, it's a must. Now, there's a couple of different methods out there, okay? There's plenty of videos, different people have their own way of doing it. But this is what I found has worked for me. There's a jacquard method. There's a tool that punches holes into the skin. But you'll see that this is the preferred method for me. Because look at how much fat I took just off of 1/2 of the chicken skin. Okay, then you turn it over, lay it flat. What you don't want to do is what you don't want to do is have the chicken skin wrinkle on you, because as you cut it, you might get a hole in the skin. Just be careful. And even as careful as I'm being, guys, well, there's a perfect example. I just punched a small hole into the skin, so I'm going to try to not make that hole any bigger than what it already is. But it's okay, that little hole isn't going to hurt anything. So I'll just kind of work around it. Doesn't mean that this skin is no longer usable. This just means that you got to be very careful with it, because as this cooks, guys, the skin will shrink down on you a little bit. And again, you know, proof that you can make these little mistakes. You got to try not to do that. Obviously, you end up with a much greater product, but that's okay. You see that little hole right there? But I'm not too worried about that. All right, so at this point, guys, I'm going to move my skin aside. But as you can see, I mean, it's translucent. You can see the gloves right through the skin. So I'm going to lay this in the pan. I'm going to grab my thigh. Okay, and I'll tell you what I do to trim. In many cases, guys, I will trim this piece here. Many times I will just kind of scrape that fat off of there. Okay, just run your sharp knife through that fat, and once it's laying on the side, trim that off. Okay, the thing is, you want to square this thigh off as much as possible. So I don't start trimming the chicken until I'm ready to make a decision whether I need to trim or not, because sometimes I may trim it, sometimes I may not, depending on the size of this thigh compared to the other thighs in the package. Now on this side, guys, the knuckle, what I do is I try to trim about half of it off. Okay, again, make sure you're using a really good sharp knife. Okay, sometimes you just kind of gotta work it, trim it off. This is kind of what you want. Little pig nose there. Okay, again, this side here again, because this is a pretty good sized thigh, guys. I'm actually just gonna trim this off because I got a good sized thigh, but I will scrape as much of this fat that I can possibly scrape. Okay, remember, the appearance of these thighs is key. So right here I can tell you that it's not very rectangular or square, if you will. So I'm going to go right here and I'm going to trim this off, this chicken right here. So see, as you can see now, it's getting a little more square appearance. Okay, so this is kind of what I want right here. That's what I'm looking at. Okay, not bad. So I'm going to tell you what I do on the bottom side of it. This piece here of the chicken thigh, they do call it the oyster, if you will. This little piece right here. Now, I'm going to leave that on for now, but I'm going to see how it looks compared to my other thighs, and I might need to trim this off. If I trim this off, the thigh is going to sit a little bit lower instead of sitting so high. So, but I'll make that decision here in a bit. All right, so the next step is, guys, there's a couple of veins in here, okay, that you want to take off. You can kind of see it there. Hope you guys can make it out. And what I do is just grab a piece of paper towel and go in after that vein. Because a lot of these veins, sometimes they still have a lot of blood inside of them, and nobody wants to bite into a bloody thigh. Sometimes they can be a little difficult to find, but there it is right there. Okay? So I'm going to go in there and just pull this vein out. Okay? Let me show you this vein, guys. Okay? Again, this one's pretty clean, but sometimes you will get them with blood still in them. Okay? So at this point, there's one more area of fat that's hidden. You have to go after it. Okay? And it's right here on this side. Right in here. So what I do is I take my knife and it's just square, or not square, but you just scrape that fat out of there. See it there? Because again, a judge doesn't want to bite into this fat, guys. Okay, that's the whole purpose behind this. Here's the other piece of the vein. I'm gonna trim this off. Okay. So at this point, again, just want to make sure that it's squared. I do have a couple of hanging pieces here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this thing around, turn the thigh around, and just come in here and square it off. Okay? The more square, the better. Okay? So at this point, my thigh's looking pretty good. Okay? That's kind of what I want. Next step is I'm going to get my skin, the side that had the fat, just drape it over the thigh, like this. There's that little hole that I told you guys about. Again, this chicken thigh is still usable. So I'm going to drape it over and figure out if I need to trim the skin more or not. Okay, so drape it over, then pick it up and tuck the skin under the thigh. Okay, I might trim up a little bit here. You can see it's hanging, the skin's hanging off the edge here. Or I can trim afterwards too. Okay, pretty happy with this. Just gonna pull it tight here and pull it tight here. Grab my thigh, roll it. Again, guys, I'm not, actually that looks pretty good. I will trim this up a little bit too. Or again, like I mentioned, I could trim that up because this skin might shrink a little bit, and in fact, it will shrink. So I'm just gonna leave it like that. And if I need to trim after these are cooked, I will do that. So guys, this is what you want for competition. And you might have to buy more than one package to get your thighs all of equal size, because you don't want to have a really big thigh. This is a really good sized thigh. Here's the next one that I'm going to work on. But you want them all kind of the same size. So you might have to buy multiple packs to get the 6 or the 8 chicken thighs for turning. So guys, hope you like this video. Again, you can see how much fat, the majority of this is fat. There's a little bit of chicken here. And you can save these pieces too to do a stir fry if you wanted to. But I'm going to toss this. But you can see how much fat one little chicken thigh has. I mean, it's almost the same size as the thigh itself. So hope this helps you guys out in the competition, guys. And thanks for watching. Please subscribe to my channel and share if you will. Thanks again, guys. We'll see you.